the lingering ghost, with the identity of many of us. What is a ghost? How civilized are we? We are currently seeing the post-structuralist movement make its way into modern layman conversations. What are words and do they have power? The false binary dichotomy is essential to studying language and myth. Let us do a deep dive into one of the most interesting horror movies versus a more basic by-the-book movie. Let's discuss the two Lloronas. The story, la historia. Even when we look at the words, here we see that the connotations of a story in English create an atmosphere of fantasy and exaggeration, while the Spanish word for story takes the double meaning of a story and history. There are words in Spanish that have no exact English word, and the intonation of certain Spanish words have different meanings in English. Something is lost in translation with the American movie. The story of La Llorona is one of a woman who is lost in time. It's about a woman who fell in love with a soldier, but the soldier only used her to have children, and so once he leaves her, she then drowns her children. Some believe that the story holds a stronger incantation in relations to the Mexican identity. Let us first delve into the younger of the two movies and begin with Kilometro 31, or Kilometer 31. The movie itself is like an ode, unraveling itself while it's playing. It starts us off with a generic based on true events exaggeration, but quickly submits itself with a simple yet esoteric of a statement.
Terminó todo lo que amaba en la vida, y después, la vida misma.
Then it zooms out of an eye and shows us a woman driving in the middle of the night, wiping tears away from her eyes. She then takes her eyes off the road for a second and believes she hit a child walking across the highway like street. We see her walk out and inspect the body, and then dials 911, only to hear the child breathing and laughing no less. The boy then gets up and she stands aghast in front of him and gets hit by a car. We are then introduced to a woman named Catalina, who is the twin sister of the woman who was just hit by a car, Agatha. Using her twin power, she senses her sister is in trouble and goes to find her in Kilometro 31. The doctor then tells Catalina, Nuno, who's Catalina's friend zone almost boyfriend, and Omar, Agatha's boyfriend, that they had to amputate Agatha's legs and that now she's in a coma. While Catalina's in the hospital, she begins to hear Agatha call to her, and she also begins to see things. Omar then goes back to check out Kilometro 31. A supernatural cop shows up to tell Omar to stop snooping around there. We then finally see the dynamic of Agatha and Catalina, and we see that they're always fighting with each other. We then see a similar scene that we see on Nightmare on Elm Street, with the girl dragging her body around, and we find the secret is in the manhole. And this is where we are introduced to the dynamic of La Llorona, a weeping sort of sound, a wailing. The sound of screaming that you will hear later in the American Llorona will make you somewhat sleepy with the routineness of it all. Then we finally get a backstory to Catalina and Agatha and find that their dad died on the job while their mother was a schizophrenic. Agatha was given the responsibility of giving the mother pills. Then one day Catalina gave them to her, and the mom took too many and drowned. The three of them then go back to Kilometro 31, and while they're in the car arguing, Nuno accidentally runs over a lady. So they have to call the ambulance. The police then find Nuno accidentally hit a dead woman, so no charges will be filed and he'll be let go. Once he's let out, Catalina and him go out again to Kilometro 31 and find a house with a Mexican old lady who says she was expecting them. During this time, Omar goes to hang with the police officer to find out about the Llorona. Nuno and Catalina then told the story of La Llorona. The beautiful young woman was deceived by a Spanish soldier she fell in love with. The subtitles will say otherwise, but enamoró means fell in love with, in which he only was using her to have children his wife could not have. When she figures this out, she threw herself and the child into the river, and the Llorona cries out for her dead children. Catalina and Nuno then stay the night at the old lady's house. Omar goes out to look for them and gets lured by one of the kids into the river. Catalina then sees that the Mexican lady they were just talking to had died a while back, so secretly she goes back to Kilometer 31 and finds Omar on the road walking. She picks him up and he points to direction, and once Catalina steps out of the car, she sees that Omar's on the side of the road, and Catalina sets out to fix things by taking out La Llorona in the underground sewers. We then see one of the most intense scenes directorially of the two sisters in the restroom with the mother drowned in the bathtub. Once Catalina goes into the sewers, the policeman and Nuno follow closely behind. As Catalina reaches near the end, she sees the old lady and the old lady says she must sacrifice herself. And holy shit, that looks disgusting. Eat your heart out, insidious. But for some reason, maybe as a joke, we then see Llorona turn into a PlayStation 2 video game. Catalina then is lured by her mother to get absorbed with La Llorona's spirit. Nuno sees Catalina, and for a second, all seems good and fair, until they kiss, and all of a sudden Nuno starts to see Catalina turn into La Llorona. So he beats those PlayStation 2 graphics with the butt of his shotgun. But really what takes the charge of this scene is not the aesthetics, but the directing, because the constant shift between reality and fantasy is so quick that you are not sure who the villain really is. But as it turns out, Nuno was hurting Catalina and not the Llorona. Nuno puts the shotgun to his mouth and pulls the trigger, or at least so you think. Nuno then wakes up at the hospital bed and finds out that he killed Catalina. So it turns out the Spaniard killed the mestiza inside Catalina. Agatha then wakes up asking for her child, which of course simply means that the spirit of La Llorona has been shifted inside Agatha now. Beautifully designed, articulately crafted.
Es que este libro me pone de los nervios. Pinche español nerviosito. ¿Qué? Pinche español nerviosito, eso dije.
With a simple yet esoteric approach towards the story. Kilometer 31 holds a candle to some of the best horror I've seen in a while. Now let's see what I can say about the Curse of La Llorona, now that it's out on VOD. Okay, well, let's see. This movie's about directing and jump scares. We could do a jump scare count. In this movie, she's not La Llorona, she's La Llorona.
How do you pronounce the name of this movie?
La Llorona. La Llorona. Curse of La Llorona.
The Curse of La Llorona.
Llorona. Yeah. Okay. Ain't gonna lie. This camera work is badass. So there's a lady named Ana who's got 2 kids, and in case you couldn't tell, they're Mexican. The boy's shoes are pretty much sawed in half, and she fixes it with duct tape. Really, I'm surprised she didn't fix it with vapor rub or Sprite. Ana's a caseworker who is doing follow-up for a mother named Patricia. Patricia's kids are missing school, so a caseworker's gotta go out there. So Ana goes out there, and Patricia right off the bat starts talking like post-apocalyptic Mexican with her house boarded up. And the most candles I've seen in one room, I'm surprised her house is not on fire. As Ana snoops around, she finds the children are locked inside the closet. And the closet has all these eyes drawn. Patricia then is about to beat Ana with a hammer when the police officer saves her. Ana then lets out the 2 children, and she goes back to her beautiful ass house. And of course, as a spoof of itself, the daughter's watching Scooby-Doo and the boy is acting like a soldier. Since, yep. Could this get any more pandery? Maybe add a few Spanish words, right?
Met with a lot of abuelas curandero.
Then we skip to the other setting, where we see the younger brother of the 2 boys Ana has just rescued. And the younger brother gets spooked by La Llorona. Ana then gets a call on her vibrantly yellow phone about the boys found dead on the river, and for some reason Patricia's there to go psycho and yell, "Wasn't me, it was La Llorona!
La Llorona!"
And Ana's boy can't help himself. He's gotta see some dead bodies. So he goes out there and sees the Llorona. And instead of the normal reaction a boy would have, he decides to go up to her and gets his arm burned. Then the boy and Llorona play a game of who can roll down the windows the fastest. It's pretty dumb and goes on too long. We then catch a quick glimpse of Raymond Cruz, the guy who played El Chewy in Blood and Blood Out, as the curandero. He's conducting what's called the smudging. Whatever. And to make the movie more embarrassing, the priest from the Conjuring universe is here.
Llorona.
The weeping woman.
Only to explain the Llorona backstory. The only problem is this backstory makes her sound pretty sadistic. So according to the priest, she killed the kids because her husband cheated on her. Sounds weirder and somehow more fucked up than the original, where the Llorona is just a desperate woman wishing someone loved her. But whatever. Then La Gritona. Cigarette burns the daughter. Just look at that dumbass Gritona. The mom finally comes back home, and for some reason when she questions the kids about the lesions on their arms and their distraught nature, they're all reserved and don't say anything. Not sure why they wouldn't just tell her some crazy woman with mustard eyes is burning their arms. We then skip forward a scene where the curandero acts like he's a forensic expert and gets the black goo in a vial. This movie is just a series of scattered scenes and ideas. Now the little boy is sleepwalking, trying to get out of the house. And the door Whoa, that's awesome directing and acting. Mom then starts to flip and see the Llorona in the little girl's mirror, that I guess was perfectly placed at the Llorona's height. She gets a bat and starts swinging.
What are you doing in my house?
And tells the kids to sleep on her bed.
What'd you say?
Mom then, pissed off, goes to visit a crazier lady in the prison. And for some reason the interrogation room looks like something out of Suicide Squad. Boy then sees a screaming woman. Oops.
The weeping woman.
The weeping woman. Who can blame me? How many times do we hear her scream throughout this movie? Boy then gets thrown down the stairs and the case manager thinks she's beating up the kids. Boy then starts rambling about Llorona and the daughter is by herself upstairs taking a bath. The father from Conjuring is like, oops, I can't do this no more. They didn't extend my contract.
There may be another way.
You need a Mexican version of me now. Curandero.
Yeah. Que...
For those who don't know what a curandero is, it's a witch doctor. All of Raymond Cruz's acting career could be connected. As first he was a cholo in Blood and Blood Out, then he became a drug lord in Breaking Bad, and now he's sober and a curandero. Did you know that evil has no bounds?
Evil. It has no bounds.
Did you know that she was human?
She was.
We already know this information. And then he uses a huevo. But I'm pretty sure the huevo is used to remove things from a person.
This ritual, la limpia.
And then fucking eggs explode into hot black goo. Can you say the most boring line in the movie, Raymond Cruz?
Ta-da. Ta-da. En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo.
Then he gives some exposition about a cross that was used in Christ's crucifixion.
It blooms with red blossoms and make it look like it's on fire.
Stupid.
El árbol del fuego.
Okay, you didn't need this CG cityscape, by the way. It looks silly and took me so out of the movie, I almost walked out of the theater.
Is that another ritual?
Yes. Breakfast for dinner.
La Gritona finally comes back to yell again. Why does she look like that? And of course the daughter forgets her dolly outside, and she goes to try to get it and remove some of the magic dirt out of the way. You know what? Let's skip forward to where the curandero blesses a whole pool full of holy water.
Your pool is now filled with holy water.
Then we start the closing where she locks her kids in the closet, similar to the crazy lady in the beginning. It's crazy. Crazy ends up showing in the house with a gun and trying to kill her kids. The curandero gets shot and Crazy summons the Llorona. The Llorona then tries to kill the kids, but just in the nick of time the sun shows her necklace, and for some reason the Llorona just stares at it. Mom then stabs Llorona with Christ's cross, and just like that, the Llorona turns into black goo. What is it with black goo? Who knows? Maybe it's the same black goo that made Tobey Maguire do this. Now take all this. Then the movie ends with the curandero leaving in a taxi. Raymond Cruz is never scared.
Really?
No.
And we get a panned in shot into a puddle, where we see the reflection of the mom, maybe as if to say she is now the Llorona. But the movie sucks so much, you don't know and you don't care. Regarding Kilometro 31, the directing and acting are amazing. Not the best I've ever seen, and not as alluring as something Shion Sono may put out.
私の父と母、それに妹のユカがいた。
And it is somewhat reminiscent of The Ring, or more specifically, Ju-on. I especially enjoyed the acting of Ileana Fox, who played both sisters. The settings feel nostalgic and almost esoteric, like a secret meaning behind everything. I could not get over the fact that they decided to actually use a weeping sound for the Llorona. The sound's simple enough, but the grittiness is intimidating with its calling to something within ourselves crying out. Of course, I was not a huge fan of the GameCube graphics, but it was made over a decade ago, and the costume of Agatha appearing later on in the movie is terrifying. The Curse of La Llorona follows the same bare-bones story, something like The Nun holds. I have to be honest, this movie has awesome directing, but with no direction, sometimes you feel the same way that you do when you drive to a dead end. No value beyond its premise. There's a ghost who wants your children, she's supposed to cry. The ghost is not scary, and the monotonous tone of the movie, along with the crowd-pleasing elements like the priest, Annabelle, or the half-Spanish is somewhat tiresome.
Or comida.
I mean, this movie could have just as easily been called The Nun 2 or The Conjuring 3.5. La Llorona has been done so many times before, so this movie is just another archive away into nothingness. As for meaning, the tale tells the story of a stranger within ourselves, the uncanny, begging us to encounter our own rage and want for revenge. The Llorona myth tells the story of a father who abandons his woman after she bears his children, which some claim to be reminiscent of how Spain invaded and then left Mexico. The drowned children would then represent the left behind Mexicans that have tied their identity to two distinct sides. Hauntology can best describe the myth by disrupting our timelines of past, present, and future distinction. The Llorona lives in the past, when her man and children were with her, the present haunting, the future of lost identity.
We have another mother image that occurs after the rise of cities. You'll see goddesses with on the crown on their heads are the walls of a city. The walled city is our mother, the mother of our civilization, the mother of our life. The culture as our mother culture.
A few articles have been done on the story of La Llorona, more closely as how it pertains to Kilometro 31. In this movie we see two sisters, one who is in a coma and the other who has a spiritual connection to something unknown, and is able to be translucent or transparent between both worlds. The children have somewhat of a reversal of the Llorona myth in their life, in which they drown their mother. The question of revenge is at the heart of the movie. For example,
Español nerviosito. ¿Qué? Pinche español nerviosito, eso dije.
In the quest that Catalina takes to save her sister, an old Mexican woman tells her that she must sacrifice herself.
¿Estás lista para sacrificarte por ella?
But we are never confirmed whether the trait actually occurs, or even more so, we are not sure if the woman is a good or a bad figure. The question is the old woman just trying to get revenge? The meaning behind the Curse of La Llorona, well, it's pretty complex.
And it was also really scary.
What are you doing in my house?
The deeper she gets into the case, she starts to uncover that behind it is La Llorona.
I have nothing left to say about this sorry excuse for movie. Well, I guess that's it. There's nothing I need to go over. No. No, not this movie. Nah, I'm just kidding. This movie is actually pretty good. Hasta mañana, locos.
Je ne sais pas si je crois ou si je ne crois pas aux fantômes, mais je dis vive les fantômes.